I had arrived at Foxven when I was just a baby, a little over a year old. A group of traveling merchants, less entrepreneurial and later superseded by the Kinney twins, woke up one day to find me in one of their carts, wrapped in a blanket and with not even a note to let them know what the hell. True cuckoo style. Without a choice other than to straight up leave the infant for dead, the merchants took me along and decided to try to pawn me off on some good people. They bundled me up with a handmade vase to make the deal more enticing, and you know what? It worked. The vase stands proudly in the mayor's office till this day, the testament to his benevolence. Indeed, he heard the merchants' plight and decided to relieve them of their unexpected burden. He then proclaimed me the newest citizen of Foxven and continued the tradition of pawning me off on other good people. But of course, there was one thing he had to do first. Bestow me with a red mother. The honor he could give to none other but his beloved mum. And that is how the child-hating recluse ended up responsible for a baby. There was one thing Mrs. Conba hated more than the Bratlings, though. It was getting roped into things she had no intention of participating in. When you look at the big picture, it's really no wonder she went on to curse my baby ass. But though a character like her might seem amusing on paper, being the child in the equation really changes perspective. I had never had the courage to face her before. What if she found it necessary to curse me again to teach me a lesson or some such? I know I would do that if some brat came around throwing accusations at me, and I was far nicer than Mrs. Conba. But all of that changed now. I had Omicron. Whatever peasant magic Mrs. Conba could wield, it did not compare to Fairy's book capable of summoning obscure brothers from Beaverbutt nowhere. I'll be smart about it. I'll give her a choice to take off the curse. But should she say no, there will be no holes barred. I'll banish her to Ekera, or give her food allergies, or both. The air smelled strange as I neared Mrs. Conba's place. Nothing unpleasant, no. Quite the opposite. Freshly baked pastries? Had she finally gone insane and started cooking instead of living off her mayor's son like an industrious mother? I opened the door to Mrs. Conba's house with my spare key. There were muddy raccoon tracks all over the whitewood floors, giving the whole place a crime scene vibe. At this point, I honestly half expected to find her dead on the floor submerged in raccoons, but luckily, opening the kitchen revealed Mrs. Conba alive and well. Good. I'd be real pissed if she went and died right when I got the courage to give her a piece of my mind. Arini? Oh, but she was not alone here. The owners of the Muddy Paw Prints slept under the table, and while there weren't enough of them to fully submerge Mrs. Conba, it was a good 6 or 7 at raccoons. She looked at me, surprised by my unannounced visit, and I knew that this was the moment. I had to channel my fury, my courage, my righteous indignation. I came in here with my head up high, ready to stand up for myself. And if I spoke up right this moment, my voice would ring strong and decisive. But I couldn't do it. I had to ask. What the hell is with the raccoons? Always something standing in my way. But how could I not have asked? Mrs. Conba blinked, her deep-seated evil eyes not betraying anything but the everyday evil. And she said, "For the life of me, I do not know. It's the walls. The smell lures the animals in." I took a hesitant step towards the wall. The smell around here was undeniable. But walls? Oh my. Walls indeed. They smelled Delicious. Perhaps it's the draught, Mrs. Conba said. But I'm beginning to believe this place became haunted. Haunted? By what? An apparition? She hated puns. Man, did she hate puns. Her eyes opened a little wider to glare at me with increased force. I couldn't help myself. A daemon? But how could... I looked down at Omicron, and Mrs. Conba did too. What is this? My first instinct was to hide the book behind my back and say nothing. But didn't I come here to threaten her with it? I did. And so I said, an Omicron. Mrs. Conba jumped off her chair like a young gazelle and lunged towards me to take the book away. But fat chance! I evaded her and stopped her with the kitchen door. Do not play with this! My red mother tried to grab the book through the creak, but I had it safely out of reach. I'm not playing with it. I know how to use it. That's even worse, Irini. Please tell me you haven't cast anything from it. Mrs. Conba gave up and took back her hand. I released the door, but stayed vigilant. She was suspiciously nimble for her age. I did, and I came to do it again if you don't take off your curse. Her eyes disappeared under a deep frown. Child, what are you talking about? Don't you child me now. You have cursed me during my red Siddha, I said. I've known for a long time, and I get why you might have done it, but today you're gonna take it off, or I'll use the Omicron on you. Irini, what? What did you get in your head this time? Mrs. Conba looked genuinely confused. Did you do something to my house? No, I didn't. I meant to, but I didn't get to it. I wanted to do it without the Omicron. I'm not stupid. Yes, you are! Mrs. Conba threw her arms out in desperation. Have you, or have you not used the book before? Have you fed it blood? Fed it? I used it for a ritual, but it had nothing to do with you, other than it being your fault since you cursed me to be alone and I had to try and summon my soulmate. Are you... Do you hear yourself? She asked, incredulous. There is no curse. I don't know how to cast curses. What gave you such an idea? My life, what else? I threw my arms in desperation too. Two could play at this game. You stupid, stupid girl. Do you really think you have the power to cast a summoning spell? Well, with the book, yes. 'Cause I did it. That's how Carrion got here, I said. And no, I did not mean to summon my brother, just so we're clear. The book. Irini, a spell like that would require more skill than you can imagine. It would require an old race mage of pure blood who can use amethyst cores to direct and shape their energy. It would require the manipulation of the layers of reality, Mrs. Conba said. And you think that she could do it with a book? Well, but I did do it. You didn't do anything but feed the book your blood. You unleashed it. Unleashed what? The bake? Do not dare. Mrs. Conba stepped forth, and I bravely didn't step back, but I did swallow the incoming pun. This is not a book. The author of these things dragged otherworldly imps here, and he locked them up in these forms. They are powerful beings capable of magic that most humans can't even dream of. Wait. This is a sentient creature. I held Omicron up. Yes. So wait. What you're saying is Omicron cursed your house to smell like cake, to lure in raccoons and possibly children. The two red garnets on the cover now looked more eye-like than ever. It hurt my intent, and when I decided I couldn't use it, but still wanted my revenge, it did it for me? That's so cute. Excuse me. Cute? I'd say it's almost like an apology for dicking me before with the ritual. Miss Konba shook her head. This, Erini. She raised her hands and formed circles with her fingers. This is your curse. You're too stupid for any reasonable man to stick with you. The second they see it, they run. And gods damn it, I can't blame them. Oh, please. For an evil imp, that's an adorable spell, and you know it, I said, trying very hard not to be very hurt right now. Suddenly Omicron began to vibrate in my hands. I looked at it, then at Mrs. Konba, back at it, and then at her again, but she seemed as spooked as I, if not more. But before I could get properly scared, my forearm started to sting. I rolled up my sleeve. What? A string of bloody letters was painting on my skin. F-I-X. Fix? I whispered. Fix what? Mrs. Konba got to me and ripped Omicron out of my arms, but the writing didn't stop. E-R-S. Fixers? Is it Omicron? Is it doing it? Mrs. Konba pointed out at the window. Yes, it is. And this is why. A group of people dressed in indigo and orange got out of a car near the Foxfen gate. Omicron was still vibrating in my red mother's hands. No, pardon, it wasn't vibrating. It was shaking. I think it's scared, I said. Oh, it's scared. I'd be scared too. Opinions on the fixers varied geographically. On the right fraction of the mainland, they were viewed as pests. On the left, as parasites, and on Karatana as pestilence. They were a multinational organization responsible for controlling the use of dangerous magic throughout the world, sanctioned by most governments. The magic included both artifacts and chosen magic users. The problems with that were twofold. One, the fixers liked to put their paws on things they should have no business pawing, and two, people did not like strangers' paws on their magical goodies, whether it was safe for them to own said goodies or not. I can't let them take it, I told Mrs. Konba. What? Of course you can, and you will. For once they come to take something that ought to be taken. It's a sentient being. They will drain it and rip it apart. Erini, calm down and think for once in your life. What's there to think about? I grabbed Omicron back and Mrs. Konba didn't try to stop me. It isn't evil. Spiteful, maybe, but that's no reason to murder it. Half the world should be murdered if that was the case. She looked me in the eye, as always trying to intimidate me by the power of her ancient gaze, but I was not losing this staring duel. Not this one. She said, You have no idea what you're dealing with. Suddenly it clicked. It rot the fish, didn't it? Mrs. Konba opened her arms, helpless. Okay, that's mean, I agree, but it didn't really hurt anyone, like nobody died. And it healed me after, didn't it? It opened the window, it took away the bowl. Yeah, I had no idea what I was dealing with, but... Erini, I can't do it. I just can't. They'll have to fight me for it. No, they won't. They'll just incapacitate you. Well, then they'll have to take it from my warm, stiff hands. I huffed. Of course I had no chance. But sometimes it doesn't matter. You have to do your best to be able to look yourself in the face in the mirror, and that's that. Mrs. Konba sighed. You're hopeless, but you do have a good heart. Fine. Take it to Hakanes University. They have the permits needed to keep it the imp as it is. I looked out the window. The fixers were going door to door with their magic-sniffing gizmos, showing warrants and interrogating everyone. There was no real opposition, since everyone just wanted the world to end because of the fish. They won't let me sneak out right now, I said. I will keep them occupied when they come here. Mrs. Conba opened the door to her bedroom, ordered me inside, and pointed to the window. Your way out, she said. You're actually gonna help me? In the end, I ought to take your side. I am your red mother, after all. And there was really no curse, never, not even a small one. Mrs. Conba sent me a glare and then slammed the bedroom door in my face. I creaked it open just enough to be able to peek through. Due to Omicon's meddling, Mrs. Conba's house alone had to have a tangible magical footprint, but she was never one to leave much to chance. With fixers going after people's things, folks had to get crafty. Mrs. Conba took out an inconspicuous pink box full of purple dust, which she then poured into a bowl of leftovers. She set it on the floor and clapped her hands, startling both me and the raccoons from under the table. Those guys didn't waste any time in rubbing the bowl and ingesting the dust together with food. That should give their machines something to think about while they are busy sniffing the walls, she said, brushing the dust off her hands. What if they'll want to confiscate the entire house? I snickered, trying to diffuse the tension a little. Oh, but at this point my hands were competing with Omicron in the shaking competition. And good news, Foxfen was winning again. Let them. You've ruined it. I'm sorry. I could try... Try? And I'll have you exiled. I mean it. Mrs. Conba glared straight through the crack and into my soul. I crouched down to make sure no one could see me through the window as they approached. When the doorbell sounded, I was clutching Omicron to my chest so hard the garnets were bound to imprint a matching set of eyes under my collarbones. Mrs. Conba opened the door, and here they were, the fixers. 5 of them, led by none other than my Loken. He wasn't working for the Black Realtors, and his recon had nothing to do with Foxfen itself. This was his job, and his secret. Yeah, he had to keep it a secret. I didn't blame him. How could I blame him? His words echoed back in my mind. I want you to come with me. I looked at Omicron. An imp. What was an imp, truly? If I left now, I might not find Loken again. He'd never said where he was from, and by the time I returned from Hakane, he'd be long gone. Suppose he could return here to ask me again to come with him? Suppose I could go on a grand quest to find him amongst the thousands of fixers? Suppose it could all end well. Always something in the way, huh? Well, what can I say? It really had been me all along. There I was, about to book it out the window to save a potentially evil imp, while leaving behind a man who was ready to love me. Did I have any questions left? Oh well, what can you do? At least I still found myself delightful. I shoved Omicron into my pants and braced myself on the windowsill for the jump, while Mrs. Conba was keeping the fixers occupied with her suspicions of a Doman hunting. The train station was not far away. There is another thing of note when it comes to Foxfen that we share with some other local towns. Our architects have reached the pinnacle of constructive genius. Take the station benches, for instance. Fanciful curves, sculpted legs, and that hot new design combining metal and wood in equal proportions. The design's so hot, in fact, that your peasant butt won't be able to handle it. Literally. The metal seat joined the blazing sun in a mockery of purpose. Luckily, this wasn't my first rodeo here. I sat down on the wooden armrest and lay Omicron in my lap. You can stop shaking now, I said. though I had no idea if it could hear or understand our speech. I may be wondering what the hell I'm doing with my life choices, but once I make them, I stick to them. Soon enough, the train arrived. It was packed with adventurers on their way to seek the real life in the big city that was Hakane, and the late-night hustlers hoping to peddle their wares to drunken crowds sitting in bars and hotel lobbies, bored and ready to spend money on anything. I hopped onto the last car and found a comfy seat beside Komiak. Most of the passengers tended to avoid the sleeping grandpa, taking him for a fragrant vagrant, but I knew his secret. I'd nabbed him with a train ticket once and learned that he simply loved sleeping on the train. I got that. It was really rather peaceful. Alas, the soothing atmosphere created perfect conditions for incubation of deep thoughts and existential ponderings. And mine? Well, mine had little else to go than to the Plan Z. See, there is a place in Hakane of which few like to speak. A dark realm you can only enter if you check your denial at the door and pay a thief of gut-wrenching admissions. It is a place that promises light, but delivers darkness first. And though in theory everyone could find a glow at the end, few ever do. Imagine you're a lion, trapped with other lions, and you've all just had to admit you failed at being cool and lovable. It does not make for a friendly bunch of lions, no. And it gets worse. So much worse. Because, see, you are pitted against each other in a chase after some unwashed, skinny gazelles that suddenly are your pinnacle of yearning because you've just looked in the mirror and seen that you're also unwashed and skinny. And there is no magic, no romance. There is nothing to make you feel special at all in the one area of life where everyone should get to feel special. The realm is known as... Shook my head and muttered the feared words. The Spinster Retreat. Well, alright, it was actually called the Carmine Orchid Hotel, but no name could mask what lay underneath. I had done my very best not to outgrow my girlish fantasies, because damn did I love them. But now I didn't even have a curse to keep me going. I was screwed. Suddenly the train stopped with a loud screech, rudely interrupting my ponderings. Even Komiak raised his head in confusion. We weren't in Dogshaw yet, were we? I looked out the window. There was nothing other than endless fields and cow clusters as far as the eye could see. Dogshaw was at least 10 minutes away still. The passengers instantly became agitated, and the train crew had to send a cheerful fellow in to calm everyone down. Ladies and gentlemen, we have run into a slight issue, but our technicians are already working on it, he said, flashing a well-practiced crowd control smile. We should be back on our way in no time. What issue? Some woman asked. I'm going for my father's medicine. I have to catch the train back today. Don't worry, ma'am. I'll update you as soon as we know. Oh, for God's sake, another passenger let out a growl. They don't even know what happened. Now, I'm not sure if this could be fully blamed on the aforementioned architects, but there was only a single track going through the local towns. You can imagine what that meant if a train broke down in the middle of it. And we could probably be here a while. I poked Omicron and muttered to it. What good is a book I can't read when stuck on a train, huh? No good is what. And in reply, I swear it happened right in front of my eyes, a word painted on the cover. Hurtful. I slammed my hands on top of it, probably bringing unnecessary attention to myself, so I scrambled to unwrap the cardigan from around my waist and wrapped the damn imp in it. Last thing we needed right now was someone spotting a magical book on a stuck train. We did hear and understand what I was saying. The thought was somewhat unnerving. But it was nothing comparable to the wave of cold sweat triggered by the announcement the smiley fellow came back with several minutes later. Ladies and gentlemen, it would appear that our travels have been interrupted by nature itself, he said. A sneaky raccoon somehow made its way into the train's engine. It has never happened before, but the issue will be handled promptly. A raccoon? A bloody raccoon? This was not a coincidence, no way. I got up and hurried to the exit. The smiling man tried to stop me and assure me the repairs wouldn't take long, but I just faked the need to puke and everyone got out of my way. I ran out into the empty field and took a turn towards the tall corn crops. There, shielded from everyone's eyes, I fell to my knees and freed Omicron from the sweater. The word that had appeared on the cover before was gone. I opened the book and saw the previous maybe missing as well. You did that, didn't you? You somehow shoved the raccoon into the engine! The answer appeared on the title page. Perhaps. Why? Why would you do that? I was taking you away from the fixes, you silly book, and that's after you ruined the fox fur, no less. My hands were shaking again. It was one thing to have a magical book, a different yet to have an imp sealed in it, and another to have said imp be as sentient as a human and doing things of its own volition. I am an imp. I can't help myself sabotaging stuff. And also I didn't want to help myself. What does that mean? You don't need a Spencer retreat. You could have me. You. Face it, we'd be perfect. You're known to bring people trouble. I was born to do it. And misery loves company, does it not? That's not what it's supposed to mean. I don't know why. Out of all the things, that was the one I chose to address. Possibly because it was the only part I could compute. Many things are not what they're supposed to be. I think that's great. And so do you. I stared at the text as if it was written in a foreign language. A new line appeared amidst the many dick drawings. I too think you're a delight, Irini. I've been around you for years, I would know. Wait, you weren't dormant or something? I'm not a volcano, my delight. I was awake, only fettered. Well, shit. I laughed. It was kind of the sweetest thing, wasn't it? A truly unique and special romance. Sure as hell I wouldn't have a book hitting on me at the Orchid Hotel. Thank you, I said, and added, as surprised as I sounded, I actually mean it. But, you know, as much as I may love reading romance and erotic literature, it's not quite it. As much as I may look like a book right now, that's also not quite it. Huh? You could find out, and you would not regret it. You'd but need to help me deal with something first. Deal with what? You could say, I have a curse on me. A little something to keep you going. Again, perfection. Wait, I never said that out loud. That or some other things. Don't tell me you can read my mind. For a moment there was nothing, then all the words disappeared from the page as if touched by a magical eraser. Suddenly a breeze brushed against the back of my neck and a hand reached forth, closing Omicron shut. I tried to jump back to protect it, thinking someone found us and meant to take it, but the man behind me held me back. A strand of blonde hair fell down my shoulder as he leant in to whisper to my ear. Maybe. The touch was gone as quickly as it had appeared, and when I turned around there was nobody there. Omicron's cover garnet blinked at me with an impish glow. I got up, surveyed my surroundings, corn everywhere, and started walking. I didn't know where from, and I didn't know where to, but I had time to figure those things out. What mattered was there was still something left for me between the A and the Z. An evil imp locked up by a spiteful mage, promising me romance if I help him handle some unknown curse? A perfectly reasonable option in my book.